was not a good transition. Oh, well, y'all, my transition did not go smooth, but I'm getting back on the horse today, okay? I have been on like a mini sabbatical. I usually batch record these podcasts. So if I seem a little rusty today, it's because I am, but I'm just going to keep it natural and just bring it in, y'all. I'm so excited to be interviewing our next guest today. Her name is Brittany, too, but she spells it with the N and an E, okay? But it's all right. It's all right. Look, our mamas had different opinions on the spelling of this name. You know, it's 50 ways to spell Brittany. Brittany is a book coach and a ghostwriter, a lover of Jesus and words. So look, we are all good, y'all. Welcome Miss Brittany to Rich Mamas Club. Hey B, look.
Hey.
Look, I'm so excited.
You calling me B.
Say that again.
I said we already family. You calling me B.
Look, I feel like every Brittany, we got like a automatic like friend card. Like it's certain characteristics that Brittany's do, like that I've noticed that I've met. Like we are very friendly people. We love what we love, super passionate. And then you got a little like spice about you too. Now I don't know you personally yet. And I'm gonna tell y'all this like live, y'all. I'm getting to know Brittany, but I know that you're a mom. I know that we have been connected on these internet streets. So I'm gonna let you actually formally introduce yourself to the crowd.
Okay. All right. Well, hello everybody. I am Brittany, or B, as my friends call me. And I am a mother of two. I have a 10-month-old. He'll be 11 months in just a few days. I can't believe it. And I have a 3-year-old. So she's a little girl. Yeah. What was I thinking? I don't even know. But I'm in Orlando, Florida. So I'm married in Orlando. And it's very hot here. And so I'm sweating already. In my free time, my free time, I'm a book coach and a ghostwriter, like she already said. So honestly, like my gift to the world outside of being a mom is just really just making sure other people get to tell their stories the way that they want.
Look, okay, we got something in common. Being a marketer and working in nonprofit for 14 plus years. I'm so key on making sure that the people who live the experiences also get to tell it from their perspective. Not quite with putting it in a book. I'm like, you should not let anybody tell your story for you, because typically when we do that, we allow other people to be the hero.
Yep.
You know? Okay, we're gonna dive deeper into that. But you got a 10-month-old and a 3-year-old. You know, I got a 3-year-old girl too. And it's truly my boss baby. Like, how are you surviving with a 10-month-old and a 3-year-old, sis? Like,
barely.
Barely. Look.
Listen, the 3-year-old is taking a nap right now, and the 10-month-old is gone with my husband. So I was like, he's just starting to walk, but like you said, my 3-year-old is like your 3-year-old. She's the boss, and it is just by the Lord's grace, because every day I'm like, well, what did I sign up for? You know, the vocabulary is expanding rapidly. One day she's not saying something. The next she's telling me what to do and how to do it. And today I became a grandmother because she told me to watch her baby.
Oh my gosh. This is about 3 months ago. My baby, what was it? She takes all her teddy bears. So she prefers teddy bears over the baby dolls. The baby dolls don't get really much love here, which, being a girly girl myself, it breaks my heart. Let me let you know. But she'll just drop them off with me. I'm like, girl, I'm not nobody grandma yet. What's wrong with you?
You are the teddy bear grandma, okay?
I'm teddy bear grandma.
So my daughter is the same. I bought her all these dolls. And so she's in the stage where she's like taking off the doll clothes, but she's not really being mama to the dolls. But yet the 10-month-old, he has like this bouncy toy. And she's like, this is my baby. Girl, if you don't put this down, because I don't want to be a grandmother to this bouncy looking gremlin.
Oh, the things we go through, man. Like, you know, I love when I've been on a break for a minute because, like I said, I batch record. But every time I do one of these interviews, I find that we have so many similarities, moms, like, you know, in a different stage and development and even just coping skills. So I really hope that when people watch this, like they hear the similarities, and then they also see themselves in the story. And you also know that, like, yes, mommy is ghetto, but you can do it.
Like we're all out here struggling together.
Man, shout out to the mommy influencers that get their kids to stay still, because it don't happen in my world. it don't happen in my world.
Mine either. I'm just praying by the grace of God that she does not wake up.
Well, if she do, we gonna roll with the punches. That's it. We are a mom-friendly podcast, obviously. Obviously. What, like, so are you from Orlando originally? Like, or yeah?
I'm not. I am actually from Fort Lauderdale. So I have been a Florida girl I won't say my whole life. I lived in Florida. Then when I became an adult and kind of was doing my own thing after college, I moved to Orlando. Then I went to China for a little bit. I used to be a teacher before I got into like having my own business. So I taught in China. And then my husband and I, he's from Atlanta. So we lived there. We lived in Charlotte. And now just for the last 2 years, I've been back in Florida because my family is here. My sister has 3 kids. So it gives us the opportunity. His family, his brother with kids is also in Florida. So they're like a couple hours away. So that's how I ended up back in Florida.
Yeah, being close to family. Well, so I'm hearing like that's like a really strong pillar in your belief to be close to family, especially with these kids. Like
who house can they go to? I'm just kidding.
No,
but I'm not.
Look, so cute. Like I feel I moved back. So I lived in Charlotte before, and I lived in the Bay Area, and then I moved back here, where I live in St. Louis. And it's so funny. I was just looking at Orlando. That Peppa Pig Playland caught me on an ad, and I'm like, okay, I gotta get my baby to Peppa Pig Land. So I was just looking at all in the Orlando area. So I'm like, oh, look, okay, we got a friend there now. Look.
I haven't been to Peppa Pig Land, but my goddaughter, her mom just dropped her off at my house. So before they came, and she's 12, so she was like, it's not for me. But they went to Peppa Pig Land, and it's about an hour away from me. And I definitely, we don't even watch Peppa Pig in my house because my daughter's already a smart mouth. Yeah. But somehow she knows all about Peppa Pig. Somehow.
Look, Peppa, that girl around here, she will have a whole meltdown if she can't find Peppa and George in here. Like, honestly, all the characters are celebrities right now. Like Bluey.
Yes, we are a Bluey family.
Oh my God, Bluey is just taking over, and the Paw Patrol people, like all the animals have taken over our household. I feel that. Like, so what's it like after moving all across the world, because you said China too, and then coming back home now as a mom, because that's really like a new identity when you come back home, and then you're not the person that left, because you have to be so many other things as a mom and as a wife.
It's like sometimes I look back on my single before married life, and I'm like, you know what? I don't regret any of it, because I do feel like I'm in a place where I lived. Like, I had a great time in my 20s and early 30s. So I don't feel like I missed out on anything. So the transition, I felt like when I became a mother and a wife was kind of smooth. It was like, I'm not, because I know like people who become parents at a very, very young age, so they don't really get to live the way that they want. But being a wife in general was one level. And then shortly after, we had our daughter, and that was like, what in the world did I sign up for? And honestly, I've been asking myself that question every other day for the last 3 years. And bringing another baby into the world was like, what? But it's beautiful, because I feel like I'm at a mature age where I'm more settled. I have patience that I didn't know existed. Like, I've never been a patient person. So after I had my daughter, I was like, wow, I'm very patient, because just, I'm, as my mom would say, I'm a new age mama. So I believe in gentle parenting with a little bit of spice here and there. Yeah. She be acting up.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God, we got so like y'all gonna get the theme through this, that Brittany's are so much alike, because I feel like I'm like looking in the mirror right now. This is my second time being married. So on the contrary, I don't regret anything, right? Mm-hmm. But I wish that I would have valued my singleness more. Because when I was young, all I ever wanted to do was be married, have kids. Like that was like the end goal, right? And now that I'm married with kids, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to go on the next vacation. I can't not like I'm always like ready. Like, oh, listen, are you gonna book me for this? Okay, look, I'll be on the phone. Let me find.
I'm gone.
Because I love to sleep by myself now. Like, because my daughter's still in the bed with us, unfortunately. So shout out to you whose child sleep on their own, because she only do that at school for the teachers.
I don't know them. I don't know them either. That's not my life.
Okay, look, like, so I think that if there are some aspiring moms and everything that might like tap into this, like I said, I don't regret starting a family, getting married again, but I got married the first time at 23, so I was very young, and catastrophic, tried to hold on to, because again, I wanted this family and this look. Like, I wish that I just would have valued being alone more. And I also would have valued just who I was and got to know myself a little bit more. Because now, like, I feel like I'm parenting a younger version of myself, and I'm constantly reminded, like, God, Holy Spirit, like, it's just, oh, do you see yourself in my child? Like, so I'm seeing her meltdowns. I'm like, oh, I can't even really be mad at my 3-year-old, because I just stopped doing this about 3 years ago. Like, like
yesterday.
Man, just seeing the younger version of myself. And I'm parenting her, and I'm also living through her with some experiences. Like, her and my husband are so close, and I did not have that relationship with my dad, and even just, you definitely see yourself breaking generational, things, and also starting new habits. So I feel like I put a lot of pressure on myself, like, oh, we should be this and we should be that. And even just before I got on here, I found myself saying, oh, I'm not present enough. I'm always thinking about what's next, so I think that would be the only thing that if I could turn back time, I wouldn't like. I think my first marriage was absolutely necessary, because it taught me a lot of things about myself, even with the good, the bad, all those things. I'm grateful to be her mom. I'm grateful to be his wife, but I wish that like I would have took more time to learn who I was. Who I was, right? Like, in my identity in Christ, for sure. Because I spent so much time trying to get approval of everybody. I'm like, dang, do I even really like this? So I'm at this point in my life where I'm like, okay, I'm learning who I am, and I'm healing some things also through parenting, being the mirror. So it's a very interesting, reflective time. That I feel like even when I'm having these conversations, I'm like, oh, okay, dang, is this a millennial thing? Are we all like just looking in the mirror like, okay, what did we get into?
I think so. And I mean, I've been seeing a therapist I've always seen a therapist, but when my daughter was 3 months old, I started seeing a perinatal therapist. And so one of the things that she reminds me about motherhood, especially when my baby is doing something that I'm like, oh, it just made me so upset. And it really helps me with like disciplining her and trying to control my anger, is she says, what is it about her behavior that's triggering you? Because she's just being a toddler, or she's just being, my son is just being an infant. And my goddaughter is a preteen. And my God, half the time I be wanting to text her mom and say, you got to come get her. Like, the attitude. And then I'm just like constantly reminding myself, what are they doing that is triggering some part of me? And just that is, but I've been in therapy specifically, I feel like it's motherhood therapy for 3 years. So now in the game, I can be a little calmer, and it's still hard. Like, you got a 3-year-old, but when I figure out, okay, the attitude is triggering me because maybe it's making me feel like I'm out of control. Like, parenting is already out of control, and I don't have any control over what she's doing or her behavior, how she responds. Then I'm able to kind of take a couple breaths, still be on edge, but it really has helped me to not because my mama would slow me across the wall somewhere if she listening to this, but disciplining back then
was a little different.
It is now. And my mom loves to tell me when I call her and I'm like, my daughter is doing this, or your grandchild. And she's like, you were the same way. But the discipline is so much different.
Yeah. Yeah. So This is so good. This is so good. My mom loves to like remind me, oh, she just acts just like you are, but not even like, I think that, and again, if my mama watching too, I wish that sometimes like the generation before us knew how to consult. I mean, like what is it called? Like not console, like I don't, what is the right word?
Is it
Comfort.
Comfort us? Yeah, comfort us.
Like, comfort us, like that it's gonna be okay. It almost seems like it's very nonchalant, like, oh, we'll just get over it. But and I think that's how they were raised and their generation was. But for older, if you're a grandma, if you're a mom of a millennial that's now becoming a mom, we sometimes just need to hear like it's gonna be okay, you're doing a good job, and not the little snickers that y'all be like, oh, well, you just getting it back, or like, and all those.
Or you just send them to my house and I would do this. If it was you, they would get a pop in, or nah, y'all was beating us.
Yeah. Hey, don't get me wrong, my child, I have to spank her because sometimes she be out of hand. But I do try to, like you said, try to do some of that compassion, like talking to her, like listen, like and giving her more control. And then it was something else you also said, like, I love that you brought up therapy. I might even ask for a reference because I've been in therapy, especially like leaving my first marriage, and like she's been with me through some evolutions, but I know that there's certain specialties where people like, hey, they know how to get you through these certain episodes in life. That's what we're saying. These different seasons, you might need a new person to be that point person too. There's so much, there's like a piece of you that dies when you take on these new titles.
Yeah,
it is. That has been the hardest thing for me. I feel like that's what Rich Mama's Club has really like become like a safe place for me, where I'm like, okay, I'm not the only one who's feeling this. Like I have community. I have like where I remember coming home and I didn't know that I could drive, couldn't drive myself. And there were so many things I didn't know about postpartum and how it was like, and I felt resentful towards my child because I'm like, oh, you're gonna ruin everything. But I wanted her, and it wasn't that like not trying to be like, again, like, yeah, go judge your mama. You can say what you want, but when you have not been prepared to know how your life is going to completely change, and not for the worst way, in some ways for the better. There can be a bit of that like resentment, and like you have to learn how to navigate this new life with caring for a human.
It is. I have a couple people that I follow online, and some of them I'm friends with, but I won't say anything to them. I'm like, being a mother is it's a learning thing. And they don't have children. And I always hear people talk about, I would do this when I have my children, or I would do that, or I would do. And I remember myself, like my sister had 2 kids before I even had one. And I would see like what was going on. I was like, that's not going on in my house, child, please. Yeah. The best quote I have ever heard in my life said, it is very easy to parent invisible children.
Run that back.
It is very easy to parent invisible children. And when I heard that, I said, these are the people that I know talking about all the things. Because when I tell you these kids run your life, they run your life, at least until a certain point. And I remember telling my mom, like my mom would tell me, and I told her, I said, you got to get your story together, because one minute she's telling me, Brittany, you got to get more control. You can't let her do X, Y, and Z. But then when she saw that I was at my breaking point, I was like, I just don't understand this. You want to tell me, oh, you're not in charge? They are. You got to do what they want to do, especially for this early season. And it's like, but you just told me that I need to toughen up and put my foot down.
Brittany, do we got the same mama? Like, yes. Like, so not only do you feel like you're a little crazy with your child, your parents also make you feel crazy because they got all the woulda, coulda, shouldas and flip flopping. Yes.
It's my fault that she run around like this. I mean, one time my daughter was just being a toddler. I mean, we had just brought my son home, and she's like, I love this baby, but I'm sick of this baby, and I'm ready for you to take this baby back. And my mom, God bless her, she was staying with us at the time. Like she would come help, and she said, you need to pray over your house, and you need to get up, and you need to fast, and you need to pray. And it wasn't a bad idea because I need to do that anyway. But she was basically saying that I had demons or something in my house because my toddler was just being a toddler. And I'm like, I prayed, and she's still acting crazy.
And see, there's so many generational things that are coming out here too. Like you said, toddlers are going to be toddlers. They're going to say what they want to say, and they actually have the truest form of emotion. Like, and they feel uncensored because the world hasn't told them to tone it down, right? And I also think that that's a gift too, because some of us, we have muted our true feelings and trying to like here's the thing, like that baby probably was acting up. The little baby had took over everything. She meant that. And here's the thing, you probably felt that as a mom, your husband, like, okay, look, baby, like, look what we do, you know? And she was just voicing what happened. So, but yes, and it is
put them back in the belly.
Oh my gosh, look, I overstand all of that because we're also in a portion where we're like, okay, we're gonna do this again because we want to go for a boy, right? So my husband has 2 daughters from his first marriage, and then we have her. So like it's 3. Like, look, if we get that, this is the last one.
This is it.
I'm like, oh, am I mentally prepared for this? Because I'm really struggling with my child, you know. And most millennials feel like, okay, our finances are just out of control because of inflation, all of the things that we should like. The experience that our parents, even though we make more money and have more opportunities, the world wasn't the same way it was for them. So I just feel like, oh, am I even prepared to bring in another child? Am I ready physically? Am I ready mentally? Am I financially, spiritually, all the things, right? For another child. And it's just so much pressure in all of that. So like, I'm always in awe of like women who like, okay, you know, this is what we're doing, and it's going to be a mess, but we're okay. We're going to take it as great. And all the opinions of all the people that, you know, that you love and, you know, are there to support you, and they don't realize how damaging sometimes their words and their actions can be.
It really is. And it's, I mean, I know that the generation before me, my mom and my grandmother and all of them, like, I know y'all love me. And it's like, they want the best for us. But the hardest part is telling them your best isn't the best for my child. Like, we are supposed to grow. And I remember talking to my mother-in-law, and she was like, I don't give any opinions about anything, you know, but I be thinking to myself, oh, I want her to ask me so you can tell me what, to just sling the child across the room because she's 2 and she's telling me that she doesn't want to do this because she's 2. And it's like, you know, that quote, I'm living with the child you raised. So I saw how that went. And, you know, I tell my therapist reminds me that our parents did the best that they could, and they did. But they also, I feel like we're at a disadvantage because they want to hold on to their best without realizing that it changes with each generation, because how I parent my daughter and my son and how I may choose to discipline them, I wouldn't expect them to do the same with their kids. I expect them to find a level of, okay, this is what my mom did. And sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. And I need to do, but this is what I'm going to do. It should get better. Yeah. It should get better. And sometimes I feel like with that older generation, like our parents and our grandparents, we don't always have the support that we need in the moment, like you said, until we have the mental breakdown. And then they want to be like, but you're doing so well. You're a good parent for these kids. And it's like, where was this before I started breaking down? That's when I needed it.
Girl, we are living the same life. We are living the same life. I went to a business conference 2 weeks ago, and one of the speakers was talking about your financial needs, like what are your basic needs around finance. And mine was certainty, and this was like it blew me out of the water, because I feel like, you know, me and finances, we need to have a better relationship right now. And what I realized is that I had so much uncertainty in my childhood. Like my mom was like very relentless of not letting us stay in places that weren't up to par when people started moving out. So she ran a lot. And what I have learned now as an adult is that you can run, but you can't hide, because my life was constantly trying to get to something better when really the grass is greener where you water it. You have to cultivate it, right? And it's been a very long and hard journey, like relating to my mom, like, okay, yes, this stuff happened with my dad, but hey, this is how this relationship with you and I, even though you were doing your best, it's left scars on me, and I have some emotional abandonment, and it comes up in so many ways in my life, right? It comes up in business, it comes up in my marriage, it comes up in how I spend money, the emotional abandonment. And it's been the hardest thing to course correct, right? Because even though you love your family, like that's one person it's like a non-negotiable. You still gonna go and hang out, like, so that certainty of it, even if it's not always great, you know, it's really hard. So like learning that, it really it poked some holes in me about 2 weeks ago. And I've been doing, like, trying to be more aware and conscious of, like, okay, like how is that, feeling like no one shows up for you, or feeling like, oh, you don't know when something's gonna change, or feeling like, oh, it's never good enough. Like how does that show up in every area of your life? And it keeps coming back to like, oh, well, you know what? Mom was working hard, so you had to go and be the latchkey kid. You were the first to do this. You were the first to do that. And because, you were the first, you often feel lonely because no one can relate to what it really looks like.
Right. It's like healing. And, I always used to think this was like woo-woo, because I was like, I want to do this. But they're always like, talk to your inner child, because the work that we're doing now, especially with how we are parenting our children, they say it's like healing the inner child. And it's not that our parents were like bad parents, but they gave us what they could. And we realized I needed more. And it just continues to happen. I remember I heard somebody say that they hope their child never has to go to therapy. And I was like, yeah, that's probably not reality.
We all need it. Like everybody's going to need it, because even at our best, like we have all this awareness and knowledge. There's still going to be something that we didn't give our child, because we're not God, right? Like only Jesus can fulfill you wholly. So it's like, that mindset is what's broken sometimes in culture. Like everybody needs to kind of like, you need to figure out what's not ticking inside of you. So yeah, I concur with that. Like I believe therapy should be open and free for everybody.
Because like, why is there? I mean, I was just talking about this. The government needs to pay for therapy, and they need to pay for daycare.
Facts.
Like, hey, you want us to have these children so society can continue moving on, pay for us to take care of these kids. I remember, gosh, I done lost my train of thought because mommy brain is real.
Oh no. Look, we got deep a little bit too. Look.
I don't know. It went away. It was talking about something that we were talking about. And then I started talking about the government should pay for,
Oh, hold on. Let me see if I can go running back a little bit, because my brain a little bit. I think I'm coming out of postpartum brain a little bit.
But they say that it takes about 3 years for us to kind of get out of like the postpartum period, which is why I guess like in other countries they have like year-long maternity leave and things like that, because they understand. Just because it's been 6 weeks or you're going back to work, and especially when we run our own companies, I know when I had my son, like I took a maternity leave, but I was still doing some things because I'm like, well, I'm the boss. I gotta still make money somehow, or I need to still be in contact with these people. So even if I have things set up to like function while I'm like taking care of a newborn, it's not like a regular job where I can just put my badge on the desk and say, I'll see y'all in 3 months. No. And even after 3 months, it took me months to finally, like when I had my daughter, especially being a first time mom, it took me almost she was like 7 months old before I started to feel like myself again. And I was like, okay, I can get back into a rhythm, because the first 7 months were like a blur.
Yeah. Oh, I relate. Yeah. I think that's something I'm working on turning Rich Mama's Club into a nonprofit, and I really did not want to. It's been 14 years a nonprofit, and I feel like that none of them run the way that ideally I would like to run. But for me to do the work that I need to and to get it funded, I would have to take on the 501c3 status. But one thing that America does not do that other countries do, and you kind of alluded to this, is that they don't, like, we have the most educated women workforce in the world. Like, right, like most of us are going to college, especially Black women. We are getting the most degrees, starting the most businesses, all those other things. But our society punishes us for becoming wives and mothers, like, because you have, they don't give you enough time for your body to heal. The workforce, like when you have that gap on your employment, like that, what have you been doing? And they treat like being a mom is not like 6 full-time jobs. You are every single thing, and you are managing a Fortune 500 corporation within your home, right? What I really foresee for Rich Mama's Club is for me to be able to create like a re-entry program for moms, like where they can start getting some of those skills again and keeping things active on their resume if they choose to go back into the workforce, or if they choose to stay at home, where so that you also know that you're still a member of society outside of your household, and you're not punished for taking care of the thing that's most important to you, and other economies don't do this, right? Like other countries will make sure that, like, hey, if one society is going to show up for you, right? Like you're going to have people who are going to help you're going to literally have a village.
Right. You have a village.
You have like we're not set up in a village mindset, which, like, I hear that even when you say, oh, well, I had a family, I moved back home because we needed to be closer to people. But I've even, like, my first husband was African, and I'm not gonna lie, I tried to make everything work because I knew that when I had children, my mother-in-law wanted to come and move in and help me take care of this child. And because I had so much emotional abandonment growing up, where I feel like I had to do so many things by myself, and being ambitious and doing things by yourself doesn't mean it's not lonely, and doesn't mean that you second guess yourself, but you would be surprised how many people at the top wish that there was somebody that they could just lean on sometimes.
Yes, it is. Community is so important, and especially a community of mothers. Like I remember a friend of mine, like we're close friends, and we had like this little period where we kind of had disconnected. And then when she got pregnant, we like reconnected, and then we've been closer ever since. And I was talking to my sister about it, and my sister said, when you have kids, it's a different type of connection, and you need a village. Because when I'm talking to people about what these kids are doing, and I have this conversation with my mom friends all the time, people without children can't relate. Like they just cannot relate. Like when I say I went to bed last night and I didn't get any sleep, you wouldn't have, and it's nothing against people who don't have children, because that's their choice. And I lived that life once upon a time too. But you're not struggling the way that I'm struggling. Your struggle is completely different. You have single person struggle. But unless you got some mental issues going on, you go to sleep at night.
Yeah.
Teething baby waking me up every 2 hours, and then I have to get up and still perform. Yeah. And and you know what they say, when you're pregnant, you lose brain cells so that it can replace mommy cells. I need those other brain cells back.
I feel that. I remember, like, my baby had to be like 4 months old, and my husband had just went back to work, and it was this minivan that got into a horrible accident on the road. And I just remember like feeling shook in my body, because it was like, oh, that could be me, because I'm exhausted. Mm-hmm. But she will only sleep during motion. So like, I'm exhausted, I'm moving, I'm doing all these things. Like, that was a mom who crashed her minivan, right? And I pray that her children were not in there. But just people don't realize the amount of pressure and stress that moms go under just to keep these humans alive, and then to go through these mega meltdowns and all the things that they go through. Like, it is like the most undervalued job ever.
There was I don't know if you've seen it, but it's one of my favorite commercials, especially now being a mom, but it's been out like a long, long time. And the person, he's like interviewing different people. So they're talking about the qualifications and they're like, yeah, I can do this. I can do this. So then he starts to say, okay, but you're working all kinds of hours. You're on call all the time. Somebody else is telling you what to do. And they determine your life. And then you see the candidates, they're slowly like, what? That I don't get any vacation. I don't get any breaks. I don't get to eat. And so then he says, oh, and you also, we're not going to pay you for this. And they're like, what? What do you mean? And then at the end, he said, that job that I'm describing is a mother. And so they all think about their mom and the sac. It's such a good, have you seen it?
I have not, but look, I want to go find it now.
It comes on. Sometimes they'll play it off season, but a lot of times they'll play it during motherhood, not motherhood, but Mother's Day season. And all the candidates, they kind of like who are applying for the fake job, they kind of realize, yeah, that's what my mom does. And it just talks about the sacrifices that mothers make. And even with the commercials, you know, the society, like we still live in a society where we're expected to do so much and parent. You know, they have news shows that say being a stay-at-home mom is like having 6 jobs.
Yeah.
And still being a stay-at-home mom and running a business for mothers whose kids do not go to daycare. Like,
yeah.
Of course we're losing our minds. We did ask for this. We asked to be parents. We're grateful that we're parents, but that doesn't mean that it's not a hard job. Yeah. It is the hardest thing that I have ever done in my life.
I agree. It is the hardest thing. And then you also, like I said, a piece of you mourns who you were before.
All the time. Maybe not all the time, but
you know,
when you want to sleep in.
Like I just did the retreat in Essence last week, and I was getting up and I was moving out. I was on a schedule, but then when I came back to reality, I was like, oh snaps! Like I still got up when I wanted to, even though I was on a schedule. I could have laid in the bed a little bit longer. But when I get here, when my child is ready to get up, I gotta get up. When she want to go to sleep, then I could go. If she go to sleep, if I don't go to sleep after her, then she's gonna make sure I stay. Like there's so much where they almost like bullies, like but like
almost they are.
You know,
at least mine is.
So much you just don't have control of. And I thank God, like I know I have such an amazing husband who has my back to the core. Like when I say I've been traveling a lot this past year, and he never say, "Hey, I ain't got it." He's like, "Go back, do what you gotta do," and I appreciate that. But sometimes I'm like, man, like I cannot imagine doing this by myself. Like I can't.
Yeah. I say that as well. I can't. I don't know, and let my mother tell it. I don't do anything, but and it's like a constant conversation I'm having with my husband. I'm like, do you feel like you're doing too much? And it's not that he's doing too much, but I think our parents' generation isn't necessarily used to men being as involved as we are making babies with people who we're like, no, if I'm having your baby, you're showing up too. You're getting up in the middle of the night. You taking this child to school. You picking them up. You're doing this is a true partnership. And so a constant conversation I'm having with my mom is that's not how you were raised. That's not how you raised us. Like my parents have been married forever. So my dad was very involved, but there's a difference. Like he wasn't picking us up from school. That was my mom's job. And it's like, it's no shade to how they did it. But with our involved husbands, it doesn't mean that I'm slacking. It just means that he's doing his part so that I don't have to be overstretched. And that I'll be in therapy talking about that.
Yeah. And I think too, the generation before also can't fathom that there are men in this generation who did not have that with their fathers, and they want to be there for their kids. So it's not that it's even about you. They love like my husband and they're putting my daughter down for nap right now. They laying down, like they have a different relationship, but I know he didn't have that relationship with his dad, you know?
Right.
So we have the opportunity to create something that they didn't have. And some look, mamas, grandmas, mimis, y'all know y'all want to be called grandmas. Just mind your business. Just mind your grand business.
Mind the business in your home. And when you visited mine, still mind it.
You know,
look. Your mom is she'll say, I'm gonna just sit back and look. No, mom, you're sitting and you're judging me because I'm not like, I don't get up to get my kids ready. It's our thing. He lets me, I don't be sleeping in because they be down there screaming. But he lets me stay in the bed, and he's always like, I will get them up because my day starts early, so I'll let you rest. And every time my mom visits, you really should get up with your kids. I just saw them because they was in my bed.
Yeah.
Let him get up with his kids.
Look, mama, mind your business. Mind your business. Mama, I'm almost convinced that they are also envious. It's not that they trying to put like, it's like, oh, I wish I would have had that. Because it was an instance. My grandma just passed away, and she had oh, thank you. My mom kept her on hospice and stuff, and she took care of her for maybe like the last decade almost. And they came over for Easter this year, and I had to check my mom because she came over early and brought my grandma. My grandma, she was going through dementia, so she was just a hard person to please. And I'm like, when I'm hosting, I need you to come on time, right? Like not before, and try to help them, because it really wasn't help. It made me more anxious. I had to tend to another person. I already have a husband and a daughter that I'm trying to make sure and keeping my house together. It caused me more stress. And my mom, like, I was just like, hey mom, like, I'm hosting. You can just come at the regular time. She's like, I wish somebody would have came and helped me when I was I'm like, hold on now. Hold on. I had to take her outside. I'm like, look, we ain't doing this.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry you wish you had all the other things. But as for me and my house, I'm asking for you to come when the rest of the guests come, because I don't need you to come back by here and say my baseboard's not as clean as they should be. Because it's only causing me anxiety and bringing my grandma who was out of her mind. My grandma trying to go all out on the porch and can't walk, like all kind of stuff. Like,
we live the same life because my grandma got dementia too. So apparently we're the same person.
That's it. Like every time I make these connections with people, especially when it comes to us millennials, like the generational thing is hard for us. We have different conversations. We have created new norms. We have created new traditions, and it can be hard for the generation before us. And I don't know what it is. I'm not going to say it's all bad. But it is a constant battle for boundaries with our children and our parents.
It is. It's hard. I can't think of any. It's rewarding because once you have the boundaries, and then when people really start respecting the boundaries, like outside of the kids, because they go see your boundary and raise you, push it. So,
look.
But it's trying to have peace of mind and know that when I wake up, somebody's probably going to be upset because I got to enforce a boundary, but it's for my own sanity. It's for my own mental health, so that I'm not being stretched. I'm not doing something that, one, I don't want to do. Two, it doesn't align with what I value. It is hard because it's so much easier to say, you know what? Everybody just do what they want to do. And if I got to suffer, I got to suffer.
Yeah, but it's we have learned, and we like, oh my God, the time has flew by. Can I believe it's been 45 minutes? I do want to chat about your business real quick. So I want you to kind of get, your elevator pitch or whatever together as we come to this portion. Did my mommy brain kick in? No. Oh, okay. So we've talked about all the things, right? We've gone through the ebbs and flows and, seen the similarities, and even just like, I feel like from this portion on, what is something that you want to share with the mom who is maybe in the same position as us, right? Like maybe it's not advice, but just a word of encouragement for her to not feel like, look, like you're failing and it's all out of order, right? You get what I'm saying? What would you give to her?
I would tell her, one, you are not alone. Like, as you can see, we're all in the same struggle. We are all doing it the same way. But also, one thing I heard, and I hear it from therapy all the time, and I was just reminded on an Instagram post, is good parents often worry if they're being a good parent. Because if you're a bad parent, you ain't worried about being a bad parent. But I hear so often that the reason why that we're always constantly like, am I doing this right? Am I putting my child's interest? Is it in their best interest? Am I being a good parent? Is because we are good parents. It's because we know that, and it doesn't mean that we're going to get it right every single time, but we know if I get it wrong, I know how to make it better. And I know because I'm consciously thinking about being a good parent, that is what a good parent does. So whenever you think to yourself, am I being a good parent? Remember, you are. You are. You have everything. We got everything we need to take care of these kids, because if we did not have it on the inside of us, God wouldn't have gave it to us. He just would not have given us a child if we could not take care of these babies. He would say, no, not for you. But if he gave us these kids, we got it.
Man, that was good, y'all. I'm glad I lost my thought because you wrapped that on real good, real good. Okay, so tell people how they can tap in with you, like the services that you offer. We did not even get a chance. We have to do a part 2, Brittany. Like, it was just so good. Brittany's coming back, y'all. I'm gonna see what I can get her back on here. She's coming back because we got to talk business and mommy while being in business and all of the things. Right?
All the things.
Look, all the things. Tell people just a little bit about your company and how they can tap in if they need your services.
Okay. So what I do is I help people write books. It's not it's really that. Like, we are a boutique company. We help them write books from the idea in their head all the way to the published product. And so either we publish it under our name, which is 88th and Oliver, or we do it for you publishing. Because and congratulations on your book. There are a lot of people who just don't know how to do it on their own. So the fact that you were able to see your dream from idea to all the way to completed published product is really a big deal. And so if you are a person that's like, I want to write a book and I want to tell my story, whether it's I want to tell my story about my life or I want to tell my story about my business and help other people, whatever it is, then you can have a conversation with me. So my website is www.Brittney, Brittney, dsmith.com. And you're able to connect with me there. I'm on Facebook under Brittany Smith. I know it's a popular name, Brittany and Smith.
My maiden name was horrible too, sis. That's why I'm like, look, I'm rebranded with these husbands' names now. Look.
I actually know another Brittany Alberty.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's why I keep Raji. I'm like, no. He was like, my husband was so hurt. He was like, you gonna get him? Like, yes, because there was no other Brittany Raji, and there's no other Brittany Raji Alberty, but there were a ton of Brittany Albertys, and my maiden name is Woods. And that's a school in St. Louis. It's literally a district called Brittany Woods. So imagine growing up. And not only that, there was another girl who's born on the same day named Brittany Woods. Were born on, and I'm telling you, on my credit report every year, I have to dispute something from this other Brittany. So yes, it's so common, sis. Like, yes.
My maiden name is Oliver. And when I got to high school, there was another Brittany Oliver. She was younger than me. But we were in the same PE class. The teacher said, Brittany Oliver, here, which one? Or we didn't know. And then she said, Brittany Oliver again. And 2 people raised their hand. And I'm like, what are the chances?
Wow.
But yeah, that's so I look like me. This is what I look like. So if you find me on social media, it's Brittany Smith, and then my Instagram is Brittany the Book Coach. The only way you'll get lost, honestly, is just with the spelling of Brittany. That's it.
Love it, love it. And I'll make sure that I will hyperlink your information here in the show notes. You make sure that you guys tap in. I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I feel like we had a little bit of church and therapy and a little bit of discussion all at the same time. Thank you for just bringing your authenticity and just your heart. I feel like your heart was here in this conversation too. So I'm always grateful when I can have those genuine connections and conversations. So thank you for coming to Rich Mama's Club. And look, if you are looking for a community and you're watching this and you're like, oh my God, this conversation was so awesome. The reason I created this podcast was for women like you to know that women are going through the same things in different places and different spaces, exactly like you. And if you want to learn more about Rich Mama's Club, check out this video and we'll see you in the next episode.
Hey mama, I know you enjoyed this episode. I just wanted to let you know that you should tap into community because you need friends. You deserve to be around people who love, support, and accept you for who you are and can hold your hand along this journey. So check out Rich Mama's Club. Thanks for watching.